I want to make a short video, meaning perhaps as long as 30 minutes. Uh, on just reading one more passage from Joel Goldsmith, The Parentheses in Eternity, which I read from the other day. I'll put a link above to that video, that last Goldsmith video we did. I know a lot of people like that. But before I do that, I want to remind you that if you're watching this video when it's posted, Cecilia Hendricks and myself are having a free group coaching session Friday, March 8th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Friday, March 8th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, free group coaching session with Cecilia and myself. If you would like to join us for that, if you're part of the mailing list, you will receive the Zoom info. And if you're not part of my mailing list, I'll put a link below where you can sign up and get the Zoom link for the group session on Friday, March 8th. Also, I'm still offering free 15-minute consultations with me over phone or Zoom. If you have questions regarding any of the stuff we cover on this channel, it's often beneficial to speak with me on Zoom as opposed to, writing emails back and forth or something like that, because we can usually cover a lot more ground in 15 minutes on the phone or on Zoom than we can by just chatting online. To schedule a free consultation with me, you can email me at info@radicalcounselor.com. On to the Goldsmith, shall we? Something that Goldsmith always does in his writings is bring us back to God. And by that I mean a focus on God. The other day I was talking about how Joseph Murphy used that great term, the absolute method, to describe this. H.M. Cady liked to call it trustful passivity. Somebody made a comment, I don't think I said it in the video, but another great term describing this practice or process is the golden key that Emmett Fox describes. I'll actually put a link above to a video. We made a couple of videos, but I'll put a link above to one of the videos we did on the golden key. Goldsmith describes this absolute method, this trustful passivity, the golden key, so consistently and so beautifully in his work. And he's truly, like, you could say, like a modern Christian mystic. Certainly right up there with Neville, in my opinion, in terms of, using a lot of really beautiful Christian imagery to convey his point. Like in this passage I'm about to read, which I think is really important to consider, because we hear all the time about how you want to take yourself, your personality out of things when you want to try to manifest them. We hear that a lot. Like, take your personality out of it. That's definitely an approach or a way to go about manifesting a better life, seeing better things come into our life, is to take yourself out of it. But, it's confusing as to what that means a lot of the time. And Goldsmith's passage here illuminates a little bit of what that means and how different it is than traditional ways of self-improvement. Because what Goldsmith is saying, what a lot of these teachings are saying, is, well, we're forgetting the self. And by forgetting the self and recognizing the present moment, the goodness of the present moment, the godliness of the present moment, our life naturally improves. But again, we aren't recognizing the goodness or the godliness of the present moment to have our external life improve. We're recognizing the goodness of the present moment, the godliness of the present moment, to recognize it. Just for that reason alone. That's a very streamlined approach towards, a lot of the spiritual manifesting advice that we hear. And that can be very confusing and overwhelming. As Emmett Fox said, take your mind off the problem, whatever it may be, and think about God instead. Meditate upon God. So here's Goldsmith again in the parentheses, in eternity. Oh, the human being, quote unquote, dies so hard. He wants to perpetuate himself. He wants to be something, to do something, to know something. Thus, the warfare goes on until finally that human being is shaken so thoroughly that he awakens to the fact that of himself he is nothing, but that the I, which is God, is all. Then meditation takes on its final phase. When in this nothingness of the individual, the Father speaks, takes over, heals, redeems, and instructs, then the Father lives that life. Eventually, every one of us will come to Paul's state of consciousness in the realization, I live, yet not I, but Christ, the Son of God, the very Spirit and presence of God, lives my life. Then, and only then, are we a state of humility that has in it not a single trace of virtue, but only the realization of the truth that we are nothing, that we can do nothing and be nothing of ourselves. It is true that this may bring with it a sense of emptiness, but strangely enough, with that sense of emptiness, there comes a sense of completeness and perfection. Yet this is not in any personal sense. It is not that egotistic sense that claims I am spiritual, I am perfect, or I am whole. It is more a sense of having no qualities of our own, and yet feeling this transcendental presence and watching it live our life. Once we are united with our source, we discover that our life is really the life of the life stream, the life of the source of life, which is now flowing as our life. We are being fed by the stream, by the waters falling from the clouds above, by a source greater than ourselves, which is now flowing as our life. It's a beautiful passage. Mystical and true, one could say, if it resonates with you. And of course, this very spiritual, mystical description and approach towards living spiritual practice, and you could say manifesting a better life, is just one way. But I know it's the way of many people watching this video and many of the people I speak with. So I really like sharing spiritual advice like this sometimes, even if it doesn't make any rational sense seemingly. It stirs us deeply, inwardly. And we can recognize this sense of God, this I behind the I, more easily than we might expect. You know, I discuss this on my podcast all the time. I'll put a link below to my podcast because there are many episodes on there where we're discussing different ways of just doing this. And this is just, again, the absolute method, the golden key, trustful passivity, whatever you want to call it. The peace that passes understanding. So I hope you join us for our group coaching call if you want to. No pressure, of course. And if you have any questions, I can be reached at info@radicalcounselor.com.